All right, so right off the bat, we need to establish that I am no guru, there is no magic, there's none of that. And at the end of the day, if you want to fix your laziness, you have to understand that there's no easy way. And you have to want to change your routine, your perception, or your approach. And you have to do the work. You have to try. This is just unavoidable. And there's no magic pill to swallow. You just gotta fix or change things in your head and in your mind. Now, there are of course ways how to go about it, and we will try to discuss these things. And another very important thing that we need to keep in mind is that these are not some universal solutions. These are just general ideas that I found in my own life, and something that helped me and helped other people as well. So I want to share that with you. And not everything here might be useful or work for you because again, every person is different. You have your own mind, you have your own goals, you have your own circumstances, situation, limitations, and all that stuff. So but then I still believe that things here do have their value, and sometimes you cannot just take what I would suggest and use it and run with it. You have to change it, modify it, tailor it towards yourself. And again, keep that in mind. Now, I think to properly address the problem of laziness, we have to first understand why we're lazy. And in my opinion, there are many different underlying causes for why we feel lazy, why we don't want to do things. But to me, the root cause, the the most important thing is basically that we as humans are slaves to our brain. So basically, you as a person and your brain are completely two different entities. Your brain takes care of your body, of your organism, of your blood and heartbeat and all that stuff, your breathing. Whereas you as a person, you think about your life, your relationships, your school, work, whatever that might be. And there is this disconnect because, for example, you as a person might understand that you need to study, you need to work, you need to do your chores, but your brain doesn't get it because your brain doesn't operate on the idea of future prospects or practical usefulness or something of that sort. Your brain operates on chemicals, neuromediators, essentially your emotional responses to things. This is why it is much easier for us to watch a movie, play a game, hang out with friends, do something that generates this emotional response, even if we're deathly tired. This is why, after a long day, you still would much rather just watch a movie or play a game, even if that, for example, playing a game in itself or watching a movie in itself exhausts you even further when you are already tired. And compared to that, in contrast, you cannot do some simple chore or you cannot study or do your work when you are fully fresh, fully refreshed, fully rested. Because in comparison to watching a movie, playing a game, hanging out, or whatever, your work, your study, your chores seem very great to your brain because there is no chemical response to it. It all seems just monotonous to your brain and to you. So we need to change that, and we need to fix that if we want to get rid of our laziness. And there are three steps towards it. There are three things that I personally do that help me and have helped other people who I recommended that. And first of all, there are two things that are laziness, I believe. First is the difficulty to start. You might find it very difficult that you know that you need to do something. Let's say something simple, doing the dishes, right? You need to do the dishes. And in itself, it doesn't take that much effort or time, but you really don't want to do it. You can't. But when you are eventually forced to do it, you just do it and it's fine, right? It doesn't kill you. And it's not that hard. It is not that difficult once you're doing it, but it's very difficult to start doing it. And so difficult to start, right? And this happens because our brain is a very lazy bastard, essentially. Our brain doesn't want to do anything. It wants to conserve as much energy as it can. So anything that is considered to be non-essential by our brain is something that we're very reluctant to do. And our brain decides what it is of priority and high importance and what is not, again, based on those emotional responses or neuromediation or whatever you want to call it, right? It doesn't matter. Keeping it simple, just your emotions, right? And doing the dishes traditionally isn't fun. So there are a few things that we can do to change things and make it easier for us to start doing the work or start doing our chores or whatever it is that we need to do. The very first thing and the very important thing is basically you need to break down your chores or your work or your study into little pieces, and you need to make them as easy to understand as it is possible. For example, let's say you think to yourself, I need to clean my room, right? This in itself is not very clear. You need to have a clear goal. So for example, I need to make my bed, I need to wipe the dust, I need to sweep the floor, something like that. You need to have very clear and actionable goals so that you never have to think about it. You just go through it and you do it, and those are very bite sizes, right? But in itself, let's say the tasks that you need to do are already very simple and there's no need to break them down. You already have a list of very simple things, right? In that case, you just have to kind of bribe yourself. You need to make a deal with yourself that, let's say there's something that you like doing or that you want to do. Let's say you sit there and you think to yourself, I would much rather just go play a game or just watch a movie. So you need to make a deal with yourself that first you do some of these chores. Again, you must not make your goals too big. You need to make them bite-sized. So let's say you really don't want to do it and you really would much rather watch a movie or play a game, but you have this list of goals, a list of things that you need to do. So you make a deal with yourself. You promise yourself, I'll do this one thing, and then I can go and watch my movie or play my game with clear conscience because I at least did something. And afterwards, once you start doing it, you might feel, okay, I can do one more thing. I'm not that tired. It wasn't that difficult. So might as well just do this one thing as well. And hopefully you'll be able to run down your entire list. If not, then at least you did something, right? And that's already much better, and you will feel much better because, hey, you did something and now you're enjoying yourself. And opposed to you feeling conscious and anxious about your list of chores, but you don't want to do them, and then instead you maybe procrastinate and you start watching your movie or playing your game, but then you feel guilty, and then some time passes and you haven't really enjoyed yourself, and you still got to do those things, but you still don't want to do them. And so instead of finding yourself in this trap, you have to make concession. Okay, maybe you cannot do all of them right now. Maybe you can't force yourself to do all of them, but you make yourself a deal. I'll do this and then I'm free. And it just goes like that. And maybe you watch a movie, you start watching a movie, you watch half a movie, or you finish watching your movie, then you do something else. Or let's say you play 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long, and after that you go ahead and do a second chore, right? Or you continue your study, or whatever that might be. Now, when it comes to not chores, but let's say actual work or study or whatever, then things might be a bit difficult because it's not just one and done, right? It is something that you need to sit down and do continuously. And here we come to the problem of we need to be able to continue doing bigger tasks that require much larger time commitment. And what you have to, or at least I do, and helps me in these kinds of situations, is that, again, first of all, I make a deal with myself and I break things into steps. Let's say that I need to study, right? And let's say for my study, I need to read certain pages. Let's say I need to read 10 pages and then I need to write something about these pages, right? Like let's say an essay or something like that. So I make a deal with myself. I break my task, this huge task, into a smaller sections. Let's say I need to read a page, or I need to read 2 pages, or whatever. To make it simpler again, we will look at it not as an amount of work, but an amount of time. Let's say you can choose your own intervals of time, but the best one is around 20 minutes. It can be from 15 to 25, no less, no more than 15 or 25 respectively, right? So the middle ground is 20. You make a deal that you will do your job, that you will do whatever it is you need to do for 20 minutes. And then after that time runs out, and you actually do it with a timer, right? After that time runs out, your conscience is clear, you can rest. And then you rest. And about rest, your rest is very specific. You don't sit in your phone scrolling, you don't watch a movie, you don't do anything essentially. When you rest, you rest. You just lie down or you kick back and you just relax. You relax your body and you relax your mind. You don't really try to think about anything. You just let your thoughts flow. You do this, and I promise you, you will feel much more rested in 5 minutes than hours of scrolling your phone. And after those 5 minutes, again, you set a timer for those 5 minutes, right? And after those 5 minutes run out, then you take a look at your situation and you think to yourself, can I continue? Do I want to continue? Maybe another section, maybe another 20 minutes, or do I really not want to do it? If you really don't want to do it, then you take a rest, you do something that you like, and then you come back and you do another 20 minutes. And in the beginning, again, it depends. In the beginning, this thing of starting and continuing your chores, your job, your whatever, may feel either very fresh and motivating because, hey, you're trying out something new, it's novel, right? Or it can feel kind of demotivating because you might have different thoughts. You may think this will not really work, or you may think that you need to commit more time and all. But we've been over this. It is always better to do something than nothing. And consistency, in my experience and opinion, wins out 10 times out of 10 over intensity. Let's say cleaning your house. I would say your house would be much cleaner if you dedicate 10 minutes daily rather than 5 hours weekly or bi-weekly or whatever. Again, for several reasons. Mostly because you do not skip out, and when it's just 10 minutes a day, you put much more effort into those 10 minutes. And usually you tend to not skip those 10 minutes because, hey, it's just 10 minutes, right? So, yeah, this is just starters. You start with this, and hopefully you'll be able to run with it. But looking into the future a little bit, there is an issue. After the novelty wears off, or maybe you try it and you find that it doesn't really work for it and you can't really modify it in any way, right? What do you do then? You're at square one. Once the novelty wears off, or you start noticing the cracks in this thing where it isn't really working out for you. In that situation, what you have to do is we need to think about long term habit building, because our habits are much stronger than our laziness. And for that, for habit building, you need some sort of personal validation. It can be anything, or personal gratification, right? It can be anything. You can just be nice to yourself. You can acknowledge that. Let's say you start with these, right, bite sizes and whatnot. You start with this, and afterwards you try to give yourself certain a leeway, or maybe you just try to acknowledge that you're doing great, you're doing fine. You just kind of lay off yourself and you try to reward yourself verbally or emotionally. Also, that is all fine and nice, but much better and much stronger way of doing it is about the Pavlov's experiment. So basically, what you have to do is you need to reward your brain or yourself with something. The easiest thing is food, and really simplest. Let's say there is some food that you like. Let's say you like chocolate, right? For me personally, I love white chocolate. So, whenever there are things that I don't like doing or I have to do, but usually struggle with it, I make myself a deal. I tell myself, okay, so you do it, and then you can eat a piece of white chocolate. It is guilt free because it is a reward for something that you did, right? Uh, and this, in my experience, is the best thing that can make you do anything. It can essentially eliminate the entire concept of laziness from every aspect of your life, because it trains you that what you're doing is you do this and then there is a reward for that, right? It trains your brain to realize and to see the emotional attachment to it, the emotional response. It creates those neuromediator responses and shit, because you did something and then you immediately ate your piece of chocolate, right? It actually generates a response in your brain. And that is really, really fantastic, honestly. Again, it doesn't need to be chocolate, it can be anything. Food is usually works best, but it can be something else. It can be other rewards, let's say playing a game or watching a movie. You you can reward yourself with essentially anything. The only requirement is that it needs to actually be a reward. It needs to be something that you like, enjoy, and it needs to be used as a reward. You cannot use it just whenever. So, for example, for me, there's no chocolate for me. I don't eat chocolate unless it is a reward for something I did, right? And I don't reward myself for no reason. Of course, you might have a cheat day every now and then, right? Maybe once a month, maybe once in 2 weeks or whatever. You're the best judge of that. But essentially, whatever is your reward, you cut it out of your life and you use it only as a reward. And it doesn't need to be one thing. So, for example, let's say you come home after a long day of school, study, work, whatever, and then you think to yourself, God damn it, I have these chores that I need to do, but you don't really want to do them. You're tired, you're hungry. Um, and in this situation, what you do is instead of going to eat, let's say you're hungry, right? Instead of going to eat or going like whatever you like doing once you come home, for me, it's food. I mean, no wonder I'm fat. But basically, whatever it is you like doing, you don't do it immediately. You usually like doing it immediately, but now you don't. You make yourself a deal. You make a deal with yourself. You tell yourself, all right, these are the things I really need to do. I'll go and quickly do them, or I'll start doing some of them, and then I can finally enjoy my food. You make this deal with yourself, and in the beginning it's kind of hard, but over time you will really have trained yourself that your brain doesn't really register this as a chore. It doesn't register this as something gray or unimportant or unneeded. It will actually start loving these things because for your brain, hey, we do this, we get a reward. And it will connect these two things. It will connect the action of doing your chore or something you don't like doing usually with the reward that you get, and your brain will start seeing these as one and the same. So basically, yeah, and you can keep doing this. You can keep building this habit, and this is the best way you can build a habit. This is how animals are trained, and at the end of the day, our brain is usually an animal. It's a kid, it's a child, it's a lizard brain, right? You can train it just as a child or as an animal or as whatever. Uh, See your brain as your own child that you have to like gratify and train into proper habits. Uh, and after a while of doing this, you will just start slowly eliminating the reward itself because you don't really need long term over time you will not even need the reward itself because your brain will have a firm belief that these things are good, and on a subconscious level or deeper level you will simply not feel lazy about these things anymore. Because really, if you think about it, you understand that these are the things that you need to do and you want to do them, but you feel so lazy. And this laziness is your brain not realizing what you do, that these things are important. And you need to trick your brain and teach your brain that these things are, in fact, important because we get emotional response out of it. So hopefully I was successful in explaining the fundamental ideas of this. You can do further research on your own. I would recommend a book. In Russian it's called "Не рычите на собаку," but I think in English it's called something like "Don't shoot the dog" or something like that. It's about training animals and how essentially you can train yourself, and this is part of my research that I did to fix my own laziness and all that. So basically, you can do your own research if you're interested. There's a ton of great stuff out there. And just if this doesn't help, then just keep looking, keep thinking, keep trying certain things, and eventually you'll figure something out. You'll find a method or you'll craft a method that will work for you. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful, and good luck. Honestly, best of luck.